All right, what's going on, guys? First, hi. It's been a little bit. I've been in and out of doctors for the last like week and a half because I've been dealing with some stuff, but that's basically dealt with now. So we'll be back to regular content. Streams are going to be back on a consistent schedule. Videos are going to be happening a couple times a week. All that's been not happening largely because of what's going on with me medically, but we're back. So today we're going to be talking about P5 Telos because that's one of the other specialized mechanics that happen in the game, the where you can't really just bring fundamentals to P5. You kind of need to know what's going on there and have a good idea. So as far as I know, the methodology that I'm going to do for P5 essentially works all the way up to 4,000 in rage. It's just you're in more or less danger depending on, what enrage you're at. But yeah, we're just going to get into it. Once I get into P5, I'm going to kind of explain what's going on the screen and then what I'm going to do to deal with it. Now, what you need in order to properly deal with P5 is you need a turtling switch. So I have it on my Death Dealer row bottoms. You don't need like anything super crazy for your turtling switch. Just you're putting it on, activating barricade, then taking him off. So doesn't matter. You could just leave him on, I guess, if you wanted to. It's not a big deal either way. Additionally, if you have access to the Malatops from player-owned farms, you want to have double Malatops perks, which will increase your barricade by, I believe, 3.6 seconds. In order to have Malatops in your player-owned farms, you need to be 117 farming, so just keep that in mind that this is a very high-level requirement. But it does increase your barricade by a substantial enough amount that I would say it's pretty mandatory here. Without both of the extensions to your barricade, these kills get a lot dicier, especially with volcanic golems of P5. So just keep all that in mind. Yeah, let's get into the kill. I will see you guys at the beginning of P5 with an explanation of what's going on. Before I continue, also, you probably need max gear just to have your best shot of not having to deal with more mechanics than you have to. Unfortunately, you're on a pretty hard time limit in P5, so just keep that in mind. I'm only doing one kill, so I'm not using best in slot aura, and I'm using Scripture of Jazz. If you were to push this all the way to 2k or all the way to 4k, probably around 1k you'd want to switch to a Grimoire just for like ultra consistent damage. But again, this isn't really a full Telos guide. That's coming soon. This is a what's actually going on in P5 and what should you do. So yeah, see you guys in a bit. All right, so now we're here at the beginning of P5. Essentially what's happening here is one of the three sets of golems are going to spawn, and all three beams are going to spawn. So the black beam, which reduces damage taken, the red beam, which increases damage taken and increases damage dealt, and the green or blue beam, depending on if you have Carbine mode on, which increases your adrenaline but drains your prayer. So we're going to opt into the green beam, which gives us the most damage and the most safety. So our plan for this phase is as soon as the phase starts, we're going to Deathmark and bloat Telos. We are going to Power Burst and Reflect, and then we want to stand in the green beam as close to Telos as possible. So we want to basically be in melee range while we're in green beam. This means that only one of the golems will be hitting us, and that we're able to maximize our adrenaline gain. Those are the two things that matter. The Reflect and the Power Burst is to basically tank as much of the golem damage as we can before we barricade. So that's why we're doing that. So let's start the kill and see what's going on here. So here I Deathmark and I bloat, make my way over to the beam. I'm not standing in melee range, so two of these golems are able to hit me. Normally, only one of the golems are able to hit you. So here, I actually do things in the wrong order. I skulls first instead of using Natural Instinct. What you want to do here is at 100% adrenaline, you want to Natural Instinct, then you want to skulls, then you want to put on your turtling legs and barricade. Natural Instinct doubles your adrenaline gain, and that includes the adrenaline from the beam. Incidentally, the way your adrenaline gain works out in this phase is that if you Natural Instinct, you will be able to cast Skulls as soon as it's off cooldown, and by the time your next global cooldown is done, you'll be able to barricade. This sets us up really nicely because after you barricade, you can then split soul, and by the time you would cast your Living Death, you're at 100% adrenaline. So it just all kind of works out that you get to do all the things you want to do because of Natural Instinct and this green beam. So ideally, that's the order that you do everything in. I'm really rusty here, so I did this in a bad order, but you'll see even with like suboptimal gameplay here, this is still pretty consistent. So here we Skulls, we Natural Instinct. I used Split Soul here because I just, I did things in the wrong order. Now we Living Death, we Skulls, and we just spam Finger of Death. Now, you get more than enough adrenaline from your Finger of Death or from the green beam, so you can just spam Finger of Death. So that's what we were able to do, and it was super consistent. Now, it seemed like there was a lot going on there, and it's because there was a lot going on, but the big thing to keep in mind is the order of what happened. We Deathmarked and bloated Telos, first thing. Then we reflected and power bursted with Protect Magicon. Again, we did this to tank as much of the golem damage as we can before we are able to barricade. After that, we stand in melee range in the green or blue beam, depending on if you have colorblind mode on or not. And we Natural Instinct, Skulls, barricade with our barricade switch or with our turtling switch, Split Soul, Living Death, Skulls, spam Finger of Death until he dies. Now, I forgot to put on my turtling pants, as you saw, so I was taking a little bit of damage at the end. If you have your turtling pants on, you should have 1 or 2 seconds on your barricade by the time this phase ends. Now, as long as you do this rotation correctly every single time, you will never have to deal with any mechanics. If you mess up, then you're going to need to pay attention to what color energy or what color virus Telos puts on you. So let's actually rewind to take a look at that. So here you see where my mouse is, I have the red virus. Now, the way you would clear this virus, which is going to deal rapid, like 1k hits, is just by standing in the red beam. So if Telos was at, say, 100k health here, I would dive to the red beam and then go back to green beam. But that didn't happen. Generally, unless you make a catastrophic mistake, or if you get really unlucky with volcanic stuns, you won't have to worry about this, but it is worth keeping in mind. But yeah, that's pretty much how P5 works. With Necromancy, you'll never actually deal with the mechanic, which is when Telos's bar is full, he will execute you. You can prevent that execute with Immortality, I believe, up until 1,000 Rage. Yeah, I just checked, and Telos will ignore your Immortality after 1,000 Rage. So ideally, you just kill him before his bar fills. With this rotation, you will always kill him before his bar fills. That's never a concern that you have to worry about. As for your familiar, I just prefer a Hellhound because it like buffers your health bar while you're trying to get to the green beam and get set up. You could use Blood Reaver because that's just, it's a really good damage familiar since you're going to be healing a lot. Telos is poisonable, so it can proc Cinderbanes. Blood Reaver is a very, very good damage familiar here. Generally, I haven't found that damage to be necessary, especially because Telos' HP is already capped at this point. So, starting at 300% in Rage, Telos is going to be as tanky as he can ever get, and we didn't need a Blood Reaver now. So, I personally prefer Hellhound, but ultimately it's up to you. But yeah, that's going to be pretty much it for this guide. I am working on a Telos guide, and I will have that out probably in a few days. Again, I haven't really done that much Telos recently, so I need to get a few kills to get back in the swing of it. But we will have a full 100 to 999% guide, and then once I finally start pushing into the higher end rages, we will have a up to 4K guide. From the people I've talked to, it seems like what you do from 1,000 rage up to 4,000 rage is basically the same. Just the golems start doing a lot more damage, and missing a prayer flick means that you just die. So keep that in mind. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this guide. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.